Hey everybody, so I'm gonna do another video and just talk to you guys about my life pretty much. So, over the course of my life, um, of my 20 years so far, what have I gone through? What's been good in my life? What's been bad in my life? We all have a story. Sometimes our stories can be very similar, and sometimes our stories can be very different. So, pretty much my life story. It all began in Rio Rancho in 1993. And if you guys are wondering, Rio Rancho is located in New Mexico. So, um, my parents um, met across the street from one another, and my dad is 5 years older than my mom. And at the time that they met, my mom was about probably 14, and my dad would have been like 19 or so. And they began a relationship, and they were together for a long time. And they had their ups and downs and everything. And then by the time my mom was 17, she became pregnant with me. And at that time, my dad wasn't really around. He made bad choices. He left my mom for another woman and married that other woman. So at that time, even though I wasn't necessarily born yet, I had a stepmom for a very short period of time. And then my dad, and that other chick didn't work out, so that lady decided to divorce my dad and stuff like that. I was born on June 16th, 1993, which was around Father's Day, and I was a cute baby. Um, I grew up um, with a single mom. Pretty much, I lived with my mom, my grandmother, my aunt, who is only 4 years older than I am. So when I was born, she would have been 4, going on 5 in September. So um, growing up, with your grandmother and stuff, and your world comes to look differently. Um, and ever since I can remember, I've always considered my aunt to be my sister because we were raised like sisters. I always bugged her. I did those typical younger sister things. We fought like sisters and everything. And I never once called her aunt or auntie. It's always been hey Ash or hey Ashley or sissy or sis. I've always used those terms for her. I've never in my life have ever referred to her as my aunt. Biologically, yes, she is my aunt, but in every other aspect, for me, she's my sister. Um, and so me and her grew up like sisters, and my mom was so young when she had me. She kind of was like that other big sister I had. And but she's my mom. Um, and my uncle, he was 19 when I was born, and so he's kind of he plays a lot of different roles for me. He feels like that big brother. He is my uncle. Has always been my uncle, and but he also kind of took on that like father figure type role in a sense, because my dad, he wasn't around due to due to circumstances and and everything. Um, so it was rough, So and then my grandmother helped me and my mom out a lot. I lived with my grandma pretty much my entire life, up until just 3 years ago. Um, so my grandmother came to be like a second mom to me, and then my great grandmother, who is still with us today, is my grandmother. I don't consider her to be my great grandma. To me, she's just grandma. Compared to like my younger cousins and stuff, they call her granny, and I don't call her granny. I call her grandma. Um, that's how I consider her. Because me, I'm so close in age with my mom and my uncle and my aunt and stuff that I feel like I'm their youngest sibling and stuff like that. So I mean that's how I view the world with my family. My dad, I didn't really grow up knowing much about my dad. I mean, I met my dad, I saw my dad on occasion, but and I grew up, being around his family, my grandmother and grandfather, my aunt and one of my uncles and my cousin and stuff like that. But the relationships with that side of the family has always been a rocky one. I stopped seeing them and talking to that side of the family when I was 8 and younger. So really the last time I spoke to anyone in that family at that time was when I was 8. And the last time I saw my dad and spoke to my dad at that time was when I was 9. So my dad was one of those dads that was into drugs, an alcoholic, landed himself in jail all the time, and he did some time, and yeah, so that's the kind of dad I had, and his family, wasn't the greatest influences either. They were all into that drug scene and alcohol and very possessive and controlling, pretty much. Um, so I grew up with a single mom pretty much, and with the help of my grandmother and stuff. And then um, and then when I turned 15, I moved out to Houston, Texas. It started pretty much out as a vacation, just to visit my grandmother and great grandmother, and which is something I had never done. Um, so I took my first plane ride officially out here to Houston with my grandma and great grandma, and I stayed out here and stuff like that. And my great grandmother, talked to my grandma about maybe we should ask her if she wants to stay out here and start high school and stuff, because they knew that I was being bullied in middle school and kind of in elementary and stuff and stuff like that. So they asked me about it, and my life was in New Mexico. My whole life was in New Mexico. My friends, my mom, even my pets, and so the only way I could stay out here is if I could get something that will remind me of home, and that one thing that would remind me of home more than anything would be a cat. I love cats. I own 4 now. So my great grandmother is a woman that's not very fond of cats that much, because they shed, they jump on everything and everything like that. But she decided, yeah, you can go ahead and get a kitten, and so we ended up going to PetSmart, um, and I chose my black cat named Texana and stuff like that, and so I stayed out here in Texas, and during my freshman year at Side Creek, I went through something um, that I struggled with and stuff. I was sexually insulted on the school bus one day after school, and I went home and told my grandmothers, and then I reported it to the school. And the guy that did it was a senior. He was 18, and the school checked into it. They got the police involved, and um, they did an investigation and stuff like that. And the guy was supposedly already on probation for doing it to another minor, and so they ended up convicting him, and he was spent 3 years in prison. Um, so that wasn't the first time it's happened to me. There was times when I was younger, I was sexually assaulted by their classmates and people, and that's something people don't generally want to share. But it happens to a lot of people, and if people can find support from people that have experienced that, and just relate to them, then it's worth sharing to let people know you're not alone. There's other people out there all over the world that's gone through that same thing. So after that, I went on Christmas break, and pretty much the biggest Christmas gift I have ever gotten is my grandmother and great grandmother took money and helped my mother, my uncle, my aunt, and her husband at the time fly out here for Christmas to spend it with me. And it was the first time that we were all out here for Christmas since about 2003. Um, so it was pretty cool being able to have my mom and stuff out here for Christmas. And the way that it happened is that my grandmother left to go somewhere, I didn't know where at that time. And so when my grandmother got back, they told me go in your room and don't come out until we say. So I waited there, and then someone knocks on my door, I open it, and it's my uncle. And I just immediately hugged him and started crying. And then my mom came behind him, and I let go of my uncle. And I just grabbed my mom and squeezed her, cause I had never been apart from my mom that long, and so it was nice to have my mom back. And my mom's like, who else is here? I'm like, yeah, Ashley and Rico. But I didn't really acknowledge them, but I was my mom. So um, so during Christmas time, I decided to go back to New Mexico and fly back with my uncle. So I ended up starting high school out there, but I went through the same thing I did with middle school. I was bullied by the kids, the same kids I was bullied by in middle school. So, and I said I ain't gonna do this again, because when I was in middle school, the school I attended was LBJ Middle School, and that school has a very well known reputation for not caring about their students and what happens to their students. And I reported to my teachers, my counselor, the principal, pretty much anyone I could, to let them know I was being bullied. And it just got to the point where the school didn't do anything. They thought I was the problem. And so since the school itself didn't do nothing to help me and stuff like that, I took things into my own hands. I got in a couple of fights. I ditched. I cussed out my teachers. I rebelled pretty much because I was trying to stand for myself and and everything. So they ended up pretty much kicking me out of the school, transferring me to this small program that was for troubled teens. And after I finished there, they did another evaluation at the school for a meeting to see if I would be ready to come back, and I refused. So then that's when I got transferred to Taylor Middle School, and I finished 7th and 8th grade there. And I had some problems at that school as well, but not as bad. I had a lot of people on my side at that school. One of my teachers, my 7th grade year, my teacher, her name was Miss Medina. She was very racist against whites, and she treated me horrible, along with a lot of other students. And no one in that school liked her at all. So thankfully that year she ended up quitting. So I knew I would come back and I wanted to see her again. Um, and then 8th grade year came, and my the teacher that would be my teacher, I recognized her from Taylor Middle School, and I did not trust her at all because she was my teacher at LBJ, and I thought for the longest time, for many months, that she was only at that school to check up on me, to see how I'm doing and whatever. And I did not like her. I did not respect her. I didn't trust her. I resented her. I hated her. I was angry with her. But over time, I got to know her. I got to work with her, and she became to be one of my favorite teachers. And she was a great teacher, um, and everything. So, I mean, everyone that I became friends with wasn't just students. It was teachers, counselors, people in the front office, the nurses. I mean, everyone there. It felt like a second family, and everything. And there was this one teacher who I still talk to today, and she was like that mom figure for me at that school. She was actually the assistant teacher in with Miss Medina my 7th grade year, and me and her grew very close. And one day I broke down because the teacher treated me horrible, and she came in to see if I was okay, and I was just really emotional, and she ended up breaking down herself because she didn't want to see me upset. And that's when I really realized she does care. She is like a mom to me and stuff like that. So and stuff like that. So to this day, I still am thankful for having all those people have my back, and so because no one at LBJ had that or did that. So when I went back to New Mexico for high school, I attended Volcano Vista, and the same girl that I got in a fight with started, you know, start saying stuff about me, and I threatened to kick her ass again. And I told her I'm not afraid to kick your ass. I did in 6th grade. I'll do it again. And I got in trouble, but I'm glad I know it was, I'm in high school now. I should be more mature, but it's like when you are put through that stuff, you don't want to go through it again. And the teachers at that school did the exact same crap. The teacher I had was horrible. I hated him. You know, and everything. But the social worker there, she was cool. I suggested maybe we should start a group for people that have been bullied or deal with depression and stuff like that. Just a small group where we can all come together, and just talk about our problems and stuff. And we had that for the time I remained there. But this time, I didn't get kicked out. I dropped out of high school my freshman year. And that following summer, I, was talking to my great grandmother about possibly coming back out here to reattend Creek, and stuff like that. And she said, "Yeah, you can come back in here." So I moved back out here to Texas. And at that time, I found out that my best friend at the time became pregnant. So she was having a baby, and she made me one of the godmothers. And I the situation with that is that she was a teen, pregnant, and the father at the time wasn't accepting it. His family wasn't accepting it. They were trying to force her to do things that she didn't want to do. And so me being the best friend, I stuck up for her. I went with her to every ultrasound appointment. I got to hear the heartbeat. I got to see him kicking and moving and everything. That was an amazing experience. And then towards the end of the pregnancy, the dad came back around, um, and that's really when mine and her friendship really became rocky. Um, she lost the baby due to the stillborn. So I attended the funeral. I gave a speech and everything. And then after that, just like our friendship became very rocky, and eventually our friendship ended. Um, and cause there was a lot of things going around the school saying I did this, I did that, and it's like that's none of it's true. Um, and so I rebelled against one of the teachers because the teacher that I rebelled against was the mother of the father of the baby, and she was saying all this crap about me, and I went off on her, and I'm like, I went off on her, so uh, no one ever really liked her anyway. Um, so after that, I just I did my own thing. I attended high school again and made new friends and became friends with a girl that me and my best friend our very first freshman year didn't like. So that my second freshman year I had a class with her and she became my best friend. And then after that, we were still best friends, but we weren't the best of friends like we were. And by sophomore year, things were rocky because um, that summer before sophomore year, I had major brain surgery due to an AVM, which is a abnormal malformation in the brain, which kills 99% of people without them knowing that they have it. So that summer for me in 2010 was a rocky summer. Um, and but follow the months to follow was pretty awesome because I went back to school, wasn't bullied or teased about having to wear a hat and stuff. Everyone was very understanding of it. I mean, I had students, ask the teachers, why does she get to wear a hat and we don't? And, I would have to explain to them, I had brain surgery. I am allowed by the school to wear a hat. And, I had teachers, ask me to take it off or tell me to take it off, and I would have to show them this note and everything. And, it got really annoying having to always be asked, told, always having to show, a note. Um, so, um, it was difficult, but I got through it. And, and towards the end of sophomore year, my baby cousin Liam was born, who I got to see born the morning that I was supposed to be at school. So I got to see him be born. Then I went to school, did finals and all that. And then then that summer, actually, that September, or it was like no, yeah, it was in August actually. I I turned 18 that June, and then, so my mom wanted to do something really big for my birthday, and, I'm like, well, instead of, getting me a really expensive gift, well, for the same price, why don't we take a trip to New York and, meet the cast of my favorite soap opera, um, which was One Life to Live, which is now canceled, has been canceled since 2012. So, but was rebooted onto the internet, but then canceled again or put on hold due to um, conflict with both networks and stuff like that. But that's another story for another video. But so I took a trip out there and got to meet majority of the cast. I got to meet my favorite actress from the show. Well, two of them actually, which would be Melissa Archer, who played as Natalie, and then Kristen Bell, who played a star. And that was a really awesome experience. I attended 3 events. I attended the luncheon with the cast. I attended the Girls Night Out event and Kristen Alderson's event. And what Kristen Alderson did is she took a group picture with all the fans that attended her event, and that picture was published into one of the soap opera magazines for ABC, and so I was able to be in a magazine. And during the luncheon, they were starting to do a new show called Dirty Soap, which had soap stars from different soap operas. It had um, Kirsten Storms and Kelly Monaco from General Hospital, and then it had some actors from it had Farrah Fawcett and stuff from One Life to Live, and some other people from other soap operas. And so they were doing a shoot for John Paul Boissier and Farrah Fawcett during the luncheon, and I think I believe it's the second video of that season where they're doing the luncheon, and you can see fans and stuff. And I was watching it and I paused it and I'm like, oh, I'm on TV, So I was in that episode for a glimpse, but I could at least say I was on TV or an episode on a TV show, even though I wasn't acting or anything. It was a reality TV show, so on E. But it was eventually canceled because I guess wasn't very successful. So that year was pretty good for me. And then me and my mom were getting ready to move out into our first official home off by ourselves, because we have always lived with my grandmother and everything. So we were able to actually have a place of our own for the first time. And we've never done it, so it was kind of nervous but exciting at the same time. And since then we've been in the same place for the last 3 years now, and stuff like that. But and then following school year, my junior year, I went and just I had been in school for so many years already. For high school, and so I got bored. I wasn't interested in school anymore or anything, so I ended up dropping out again and didn't go back for about 2 years. And then come last year, um, I started working and all that, and just one day I went on Facebook to see if my theater arts teacher, what she was up to, and her daughter made a post saying, it's been so long since my mother died. I'm thinking, wait, what? Miss Miller passed away? So what I did is I went on to the HoustonChronicle.com, searched obituaries. I typed in her name, my teacher's name, and lo and behold, she did pass away. And she was my favorite teacher at Creek. And so when I officially found that out, I cried, because me and her were really close. She teased me by taking off my hat in theater class, and when I came back from New York, me and her ran into each other at the Newark, New Jersey airport, which was the craziest thing. She's like, Brittany? And I look over and it's like, oh my god, it's Miss Miller. And we just talked. I got to meet one of her good friends. I don't remember her friend's name, but we flew back on the same plane, and then after, we got our luggage and stuff, we went our separate ways, and told her I'll see you at school. And later, a couple months later down the line, I ended up dropping out. Didn't see her since. And then I found out, about a year later, she ended up passing away. So that was rough, but I know she's in heaven, and I'll see her again. And everything. So then came 2012. I didn't do anything with my life. I was a homebody. I didn't go really anywhere. I didn't really do anything with my life. I just, I had the GED book, but I was just I hit rock bottom. You know, I didn't want to do anything or see anybody. I just was doing my own thing. Um, you know, and then came November of 2012. Me and my mom made a hard decision to put down our eldest dog, Shadow, and so that was really rough. I'm the kind of person that's highly against killing animals, and so when we did that for months after that happened, I felt guilt, and that's nothing I ever want to feel again. But that dog, he was like a brother to me. You know, we grew up together pretty much. He was like my little brother. He's my brother, man. Even though he was a four-legged furball, he was my brother, and he was a good dog. But he had a lot of medical problems, and we didn't want him suffering down the line. Because you know, every time we took him to the vet, you know, the vet would say, you know, you should think about putting him down. Me and my mom were real hesitant about it, so we just came to that day and said, you know, let's just do it. But me and my mom that morning, we broke down crying, and we took him to my grandmother so they can say goodbye to him, and we took him to the vet, and they took him back there and brought him back to us laying in a box. And so we had a nice little ceremony, funeral for him, and and everything. So and let's see. And then came 2013. Um, Still wasn't really doing nothing with my life until really about Mayish. I, you know, started, you know, looking for a job. I applied for so many places, and I did interviews with Panera Bread and with Petco and a couple of other places, and wasn't hired on it at any of them. Besides, but I got hired on Petco immediately, and so I was with Petco from May to January this year, and that experience was a good experience, but the work environment itself was a very negative environment because all of my coworkers were big cussers, and you know, my boss ended up showing me out because she got bit by a dog, and it was so awkward silence. So I ended up talking to another coworker, and she said, you know, shut the f up, and I mean, through my experience with Petco, you know, they don't know how to treat their employees. They're not professional on any level and stuff like that. But the one person I grew close to out of my coworkers was my trainer, because I work with her every night, and she became, you know, to be a good friend and everything. But she ended up being transferred to a different location as a store or a salon manager, and then I ended up going back to school last year and stuff like that. But a couple months down the line, I just decided it wasn't for me anymore, so I dropped out again. And then I was still with Petco, and then eventually I got transferred to another location. And then pretty much everyone at that location was pretty much the same way. Besides a couple of my coworkers, the dog trainer I became really close with, and a couple of the other employees, but majority of them, especially the manager, the head manager, he was, in a lack of words, he was a real dick. So I ended up leaving Petco, and I would probably never work for Petco again. So, nevertheless, here we are in modern day 2013. 2013, yeah, I left Petco. Oh, I'm sorry. 2014. I'm still thinking we're in 2013, but 2014, you know, I quit Petco, and but this year so far has been a really good year. But last year I lost 5 hamsters that died. So, and the first one was the most devastating because she was one of my little winter white hamsters. Her name was Baby, and she apparently was really sick, and I didn't realize it until I cleaned her cage. And I stopped doing whatever I was doing. I rushed her to the vet. They couldn't do nothing for her. I sat there for about almost 2 to 3 hours, just waiting for her to be free. And so I just decided, let's just go, alright. And so they just recommended, go buy a heat lamp. Maybe if you put her underneath a heat lamp, that'll probably help her. So I told my mom, run to the Petco, man. Run into Petco, get a lamp or something. But they didn't have any. So, but it's like there's really no point because she had already passed. So what I did is I took her to my grandmother's and I buried her. And then 4 more hamsters followed her not long after. And then this year, so far, I've lost 2 more hamsters along with one of my lizards. Um, so, but they're I believe animals go to heaven, not and stuff, and I will stand by that. I don't care what the Bible says. Animals don't go to heaven. Well, you know what? I believe otherwise. Because there was a lot of things left out of the Bible and stuff like that. And, I don't know. But that's what I believe. I believe animals go to heaven. Um, so, here it is 2014 now. The first day of January 1st, I, was over at my grandmother's celebrating the new year pretty much. And, it had been the year anniversary that my grandmother had her first heart attack, and so that was a big deal. Hoping it wouldn't be a recurring thing. But anyway, it didn't happen, so everything was good. On this day was a good day. I went on Facebook, and I just had the feeling to try to find my cousin Samantha on Facebook with the last name McCarthy. Um, So, I looked at, I searched that name and came up a couple people, and I'm like, Mom, does this look like her? And I was like, yeah, that looks like her. So I, being hesitant, I sent, this girl named Samantha a message, asking her, is your dad so and so and stuff like that. And she responds saying, yes, I am. Your mom's name is Kim. I'm like, and I just got really emotional saying, I finally found my cousin, who I've been trying to find for many years now. And she's a cousin I have never met. She always lived in Virginia. The last time I spoke to her was when right after I probably turned 11 or 12. She called trying to get in contact with our nana, and I called her back, and I talked to her, and she was a newlywed and stuff like that. But I came to find her on Facebook, discovered that she has 2 beautiful daughters, and through her, I asked her, "Do you stay in contact with any of the family?" She says, she talks to our uncle, and I'm like, do you have his phone number by chance? And she's like, "Yeah, my mom has it. I'll get it to you as soon as I can." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So then I end up, calling my uncle up, letting him know, it's me, and and uh, and everything. And so I talked to him, and I ended up being able to talk to my little cousin Ben, who I never met, um, didn't know existed until last year, um, and through my uncle, I was trying to get in contact with my dad for the last 3, 4 years, pretty much since I turned 18. Um, so I wanted to, talk to my dad and hopefully reconcile a relationship with him and the family. Um, but there was a lot of conflict between my families and all that. And so my uncle's like, I'll give your dad the message, letting him know, you're trying, you want to talk to him, so like that. And I didn't hear nothing from my dad for a couple of days, so then I called my uncle, like, look, I think it'll be better if I call him. He's more likely to answer. Um, at first he didn't answer. I texted, I called, left numerous messages, and then I was at the theater with my mom, and he ended up texting and calling, and I realized it right when the movie was about to end. So I get up, I start walking in the theater, and I was like, wait, I'm like, no, I gotta go now. So I called my dad back. I called him, and I talked to him, and he was very hesitant about having a relationship with me, and he was still angry about a lot of things, but and a daughter shouldn't really have to give her dad an ultimatum, but that's what I had to do because I didn't want him deciding I don't want to be in your life right now, but come 15 years down the line, he then decides he wants to be a part of my life. So I told him, I'm giving you the opportunity to be a part of my life now, because I don't want it to be 10, 15 years down the line, and then you decide you want to be a part of my life then, when I'm giving you the opportunity to be a part of my life now. And I talked to him for about a good 45 minutes or so, just trying, to convince him, whatever happened in the past is the past. Move forward. I'm 18 now, or I'm 20 now. I'm not a kid. And stuff. So he decided to have a relationship with me. So we talked here and there. But his mother, my nana, was not very fond of the idea that he was talking to me. So what she decided to do, she decided to call me on my cell phone and leave me a very disrespectful message. Saying that I'm trash and I'm not family, and if I ever call back again, then she'll do things, and it's just, I'm like, whatever, it's your problem. If you don't want to have a relationship with me, that's your deal. But you can't prevent my dad from having a relationship with me. I'm sorry, you just can't. So uh, it's been rocky some, because then we had to communicate through my uncle, because my nana was being such a what, with not letting my dad call me and stuff. So we did that for a little while, and then he ended up deciding to get a different phone number and transfer his service to a different company, um, and stuff like that, so that we can talk, and people don't have to monitor and all that stalking-ish stuff. So yeah, so pretty much I've been in contact with my cousin and some of my family on my dad's side, and everything. And then this year, and starting last year, really towards the end of last year, I started adopting rats. So I have 15 rats. Um, I have hamsters still. I have rabbits. Pretty much, I have 3 dogs. I have Maddie, who's my golden retriever. I have Judea, who's my Chiweenie Terrier mix. And then I have my now 1-year-old puppy, I say, Mia, who's a Chorky. And then I have 4 cats. I have my eldest, Sassy. And then I have Octobria, Texana. And then this past October, I found a kitten in my apartment, abandoned in a cage by the trash. And he was only 3-4 weeks old. So I took him in and named him Kobe, and now he's about 5 months old and neutered, and a very crazy cat out of all my cats I've had in my life, because he would be my 5th cat that I've owned myself within my almost 21 years of life. So he's a good cat. And I have my two rabbits, Jana and Lola. Um, I've had Jana since 2010. I got her from the SPCA when she was about 4 to 6 months old. Now she's 4 years old. So she's old. And then Lola, she's about the same age as Jana, approximately. Um, and the hamsters that I have remaining right now would be Zeno, Xena, Gabrielle, Piper, Creamlin, Peaches, Miracle, Teddy, Juna, Zoe, and Matthias. That should be all of them. And then my rats, I have Paisley, Abby, Pearl, Samantha, and Rubeland. And then I have Destiny and Trinity, Sunderland, Beja, Coco and Ginger, and then Grayson, Tanner, Jaru, and Presley. Um, and two of those rats were not expected, which would be Jaru and Sunderland. They are the daughter and son of Grayson and Destiny. Um, when I first got Destiny and her sister Trinity, I thought I saw Destiny developing little ratsy balls, and so I took her to my job at the time, which is Petco, to have my coworker sex her, and he told me it's a male. So I came home, put her in with my male rats, and lo and behold, about 4 weeks later, I come home from a very late night from my grandmother's. I probably got home around 12 at night, and I came in. I was gonna feed my rats and stuff, and I saw my Grayson, who was the dad. He had a streak of blood on his back, so I'm like, oh, well, maybe he got in a fight with one of the other males. And so I'm trying to figure out what the heck went down. So I'm taking out their shelving, and I'm using language I shouldn't have used, but I'm like, you know, I see babies. I see two babies. I'm like, oh no. Um, and my mom's like, what? I'm like, and my my blood pressure's high. I'm panicking. I don't know what the hell to do. And so first thing I did is grabbed my males immediately, put them in a different cage, and I had to transfer some of my hamsters into a different cage and then I had to get a tank, my 10 gallons, cleaned up so I can move Destiny and the babies into a smaller, safer, more calming, quiet environment. Because Destiny, she was stressing, she was going crazy, climbing the cage and everything. And so I call up my coworker. I'm like, "You have experience with this? What should I do?" and stuff like that. She's like, don't touch the babies with your hands, because the mom, she may reject them and all that. So I ended up, grabbing a glove or something and picking up the babies, placing them in to the 10-gallon tank, and along with their mother, and over the course of time, I ended up joining a group on Facebook called the Rat Fan Club, and a lot of those people in that group helped me. I immediately got in there and talked to them, explained to them what was going on and everything. So, and before I even knew or saw that the babies and stuff, Destiny was, when I thought she was a mouse, she was known as Bentley. Because my coworker, the one that I called about the babies, she's just Ben. And I'm like, I like the name Bentley. So I named Destiny Bentley. So I figured, I want, when usually when you have newborn rats or mice or any rodents, they can sometimes be hard to sex, especially when you don't have any experience with it. So I did research on how to sex rats, and I'm like, one of them looks like male and one of them looks like female. So I decided on I was all trying to figure out what should I name them, and so I ended up naming Sunderland, because they were born on a Sunday, and I honestly can't remember what her middle name is. Um, but and then Jaru is short for January, for the month they were born in. So Jaru, his full name is Jaru Bentley Grayson. So he's named after his mother and his father. Um, and it was a really exciting time to be able to see them grow up, their features change, and everything, and now they're huge. Um, and I'm all looking at Drew, and I notice on his belly, kind of downward, where his little thing is, he has a little black mark, and I'm like, what? Grayson has that same mark. I'm like, man, it's something like father, So I'm thinking, Grayson's definitely their dad. Um, they're not black like their mom and dad. They are a dark gray. They're more of a grayish black. Um, but they're really really cute and sweet. Um, and I didn't. So what I ended up having to do is I ended up adopting two more babies, and I ended up first off just wanting to get a male because, I it came to the point where I would have to separate Jaru and he would be by himself, and I was I didn't have the I was working for Walmart at the time and I didn't have the time, so I was working nights and stuff to socialize him. So I wanted him to be very social, so I ended up adopting a pure beige little rat, and ended up naming it Beijo. But then one day, I decided I'm just gonna try to sex it, just to make sure it is male. But it turned out to be female, so I'm like, oh no. Hopefully there are no more babies will be on the way. So instead of her name being Bejo, I changed the last letter to an A, so it's Beja. And so then I ended up going to a breeder who had Dumble rats, and so I ended up adopting a little male. I made sure it was male, and so he's a little Dumbo male. He's really cute. His head is hooded with brown fur, and so his full name is Presley Hoodie Jackson. So he's pretty much named after the King of Rock and King of Pop. So yeah. Um, and then I have my bearded dragon Hamus, um, who's a tigerback citrus, and he's a beautiful lizard. He's a good lizard. Um, and and then this coming weekend, I'm adding two or three new additions to my furry family. They are in the rodent family. I love rodents. They are the most amazing creatures, I think, besides my other animals. But I'm saying as far as small animals, they are amazing because their lives are so short. They are just in need of love, in a good home. So I'm adopting some mice. When I was younger, I had a mouse, but not for a very long time. And I didn't know if it was male or female, but I named it Stuart Little. It was pure white. And a friend ended up giving it to me, and about a week or two later, she wanted to borrow the mouse. And so, me being a stupid kid, I let her, and then she let her other friend borrow it. And then apparently, from what they told me, her friend's cat killed the mouse. So, yeah. But I don't know what the real case was. So, I mean, the girl could have easily had just wanted the mouse back or whatever. But so I'm adopting some little mice. I'm getting them from a breeder who is also part of the Rat Fan Club group, and she lives here in Houston as well. And she sent me pictures of the mice, and I've picked out the main two I want. They're a blackish gray and white. One of them is completely almost white, has a little bit of black on its little behind. A little splash of black, I think, around one of its eyes, and then a little bit of black on one of its sides, from what I can tell so far. And I've decided probably on the name Buttons for her, because she has a little black by her butt. So Buttons, I think it will be a cute name for her. And then the other one, who is her sister, is named Patches, because where her head is she has it's completely her right down the middle of her head. It's white, and then she has these black patches of black fur on each of her ears, and just some cute little design on her back and stuff. So I'm naming her Patches, Patty for short. And then the breeder's trying to sex the pure gray and pure black mice. And I'm either going to choose either pure gray, pure brown, or pure black. I've decided if I get a pure black female, I'm going to name it Shadow, after my dog Shadow, who was also pure black. And then if I get a pure gray, I don't know what to name it, or brown, I don't know what to name it, but we'll see. So yeah, I've quite a bit that's going on in my life, and and everything. So yeah, but right now, my life right now, it's pretty good. It's awesome because this year I started serving in my church. I went to the Winter Jam 2014, saw 10 Christian bands, which was my very first Christian concert. Best concert I've ever been to. And it was fun. It was awesome. And been reading my Bible and just really getting into more Christian life. And I just saw Son of God and God's Not Dead. And this coming weekend, I'm going to go see Noah. And then on April 16th or sometime in April, I'm going to go see Heaven is for Real. I just ordered that book, so I should be able to pick it up from Walmart on the 27th of this month. And stuff like that. So a lot of goods in my life right now. And for the longest time I prayed to God asking, why can't my dad in my life, and I had a dream of my papa, who I knew in the dream he was passed on, but he was in his recliner chair as he always was. And he was just looking at me and saying, now is not the time. I'm like, no, now is the time. And I went on in the dream to go, talk to my nana, my aunt, and my cousin and stuff. And I just broke down. So all I want is my family back in my life. And for the most part, I got majority of my family back. The only people I don't have in my life from that side is my cousin Shantae, my nana, and my aunt Susan. But other than that, I had pretty much everyone else. So I got 95% of my family back, which is awesome, with some additions to the family as well. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much my life story so far. So yeah, I'm sharing my struggles. I'm sharing my greatness with you, and I hope for those that do watch this video, if you have been affected by being bullied in school or at work or on the playground, at the park, wherever, you're not alone. It does get better, I promise you that. Yeah, the pain will always still be there, but it makes you stronger than what you were before. And looking back, myself, the things I did, I probably would have did some of the stuff differently, but I can't change it. All I can do is learn from it and move forward. And if you are a victim of sexual abuse or sexual harassment or anything of that line, it is rough. It does tear you up, and it's devastating, and it's a struggle to move on for. But it is possible. It does get better, and it does make you stronger as well. So no, you're not alone on that level either. Um, if you have a father or a mother that was addicted to drugs, alcohol, the party scene, pretty much as I had with my dad, and your dad wasn't around, he was in and out of jail, did crimes and stuff and landed himself in prison, then you guys can relate to that too. Yes, it is hard not having a dad in your life, because every child, whether you're a boy or a girl, you desire your dad to be a part of your life. But you got to take by the hands what male figures you do have in your life and look up to them. And I'm glad I had my uncle to do that, because my uncle's a strong Christian. He's the best father figure I could ever ask for. I mean, if I had to choose between having my dad or my uncle as my dad, I would choose my uncle, because he's been there for me. He's talked to me. He's had those fatherly figure talks. So he's the best man. So, but I still love my dad and stuff. Um, but it is hard growing up having a dad absent from your life, and a lot of kids that grow up without their dad in their life end up doing the same things that their fathers did. Getting it in with the wrong crowd, doing drugs, becoming alcoholics. Getting a background. And so, luckily for me, I'm very fortunate to not be involved in really any of that. I mean, yeah, I drank here and there from once in a great moon, but I've never really been into drugs. I've been offered to do drugs. I've tried drugs once, but never really got into it. It wasn't my thing. I smoked cigarettes before. Don't like them. Will never smoke them. And I was a uh, I wouldn't say I was a wild teen, but I did teen things that teens do today. Um, so I did some pretty stupid stuff as a teenager myself, and it was only just 2 years ago as a teenager, or really a year ago rather. But I'm about to be 21, so I'm about to be a legit adult. Um, so if you guys have gone through any of those things in your lives, just know you're not alone. You always have a friend in me, far or near. But the biggest friend that anyone can have is God. Because God knows you're hurting. He knows everything. And all you gotta do is just ask him to be a part of your life, and he will. As long as you're open and willing to accept him. God will love you as he always has. And everything. So I hope you guys can take something from this video, and hopefully it'll work something in you in your life. But if it doesn't, just keep seeking and searching, and I promise you'll find that one thing. And everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to get in touch with me personally, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on obviously YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Shots, I'm on MySpace, I'm on MeetMe.com. I run a couple blogs. So I'm pretty much here and there on almost every other social networking site. So if you guys want those links, just make a comment in the section below, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you, pray for you. If you want to know Christ, I can tell you what I know about him and how I know him, and what I did to become a follower of Christ. Even though I was raised Christian, I did walk away from Christ for a couple of years, but I went back to him. So yeah, if you guys need someone, I'm here. So you guys have a good one. God bless you all.